exhausted sigh. Hello again, I am Blunty, and yeah, I've been waiting for this one. Saw it coming a mile away. And in fact, I have had screenshots and notes about this exact issue sitting in a document for literally weeks now. But here it is. Today's the day I've been waiting for to record this video. It's been sitting in my pocket since the very instant Nintendo started showing off their new GameChat service. Voice chat, game sharing, and video chat if you've got the accessory camera, or indeed a compatible third-party webcam, which I will be looking at in a future video, so you know what to do. But it was screamingly obvious this was coming, but somehow people out there are still acting like it's a horrible shock and an outrageous reveal. With the launch of the Nintendo Switch 2 just weeks away now, Nintendo's official privacy policy has been updated to reflect the new console and its new features, including game chat, of course, specifically detailing how Nintendo can record your game chat interactions. And people are losing their damn minds about it. Which, as I will explain in just a brief moment, might just be the dumbest, knee-jerk, reactionist gamer horseshit that I've seen with anything Switch 2 related, and that is saying something because there's been some really spectacularly, hilariously dumb, knee-jerk, reactionist horseshit out there floating around the Switch 2. So, let's start with the new language in the privacy policy, which now states, "Our services may allow you to create, upload, or share content such as text, images, audio, video, your nickname and user icon, or other content that you create or is licensed to you. With your consent, and to enforce our terms, we may also monitor and record your video and audio interactions with other users." Oh my god, guys, oh my god, Nintendo are planning to record your video and audio chats and monitor them. They're going to look through your web camera. They're going to listen to your microphone. They're going to record everything you say and do. It is an outrageous privacy violation. Everybody freak out. Into the streets we go. Pitchforks and torches at the ready. This is outrageous. Except, oh my god, some people are just so exhausting. It really is so exhausting seeing this stuff happen. Now, of course, no one likes the idea of a company using the devices they sell us to put in our homes to spy on us, to record us, to keep records of the things we say and do in our own private spaces. It's creepy to think about. There's no argument there. However, this is a pretty standard thing when it comes to online video game services. In literally basically every single game that has an online multiplayer component and some kind of in-game chat or player interaction, you will find in their own privacy policies inclusion of similar language about monitoring and recording anything and everything you say and do in those games. They do this, obviously, I would think, for safety and security. They do this because once upon a time, they didn't do this, and these spaces were absolute cesspools of the most horrible, toxic, dangerous garbage and vile abuse you can possibly imagine. It was bad. If you're a Zoomer or younger out there, you probably don't know just how bad this shit was back in the day, but it was bad. But because the companies that run these communication services, well, they can be legally accountable for that shit, and were, in fact, in several cases, it was a legal issue. So now, having records, having recorded proof and evidence of this shit so they can help enforce their community guidelines and safety requirements easier and more efficiently and better and more accurately, to keep these services as safe and clean as practical is kind of not just important, but legally required if you want to be able to use this shit in your games and not expose yourself to horrendous legal problems. And by the way, I'm not just talking about individual games either. Both of the other major consoles that you have in your homes and have been using for years, generations of them in fact, all have pretty much this exact same language in their terms of use. On Xbox, it reads, "In order to help make the Xbox network a safe gaming environment and enforce the community standards for Xbox, we may collect and review voice, text, images, videos, and in-game content, such as game clips you upload, conversations you have, and the things you post in clubs and games. Over on PlayStation, they say they reserve the right in our sole discretion to monitor, including through the use of technology that automatically detects images, text, and URLs that breach our terms of service, and record your online activity and communication through the PlayStation Network, and to remove and or delete any content. So what Nintendo are doing here is exactly and precisely in line with the standards that everybody else already does and has been doing for many years now, and multiple generations of consoles, to legally support running these services in a responsible and safe way. The last damn thing you, or indeed especially a parent of a younger kid using a console like these, or the brands themselves want, is completely unrestricted, unleashed, unprotected communications through these services. That's just begging for horrible things to happen. And again, some of us are old enough to remember what that was like when these services weren't as actively controlled, monitored, recorded, had reporting options and things like that. It was a goddamn roiling bloody pool of Satan's own diarrhea. So yeah, it feels creepy that Nintendo or PlayStation or Xbox or literally any other service that you use for this kind of online communication can and will record your activity and use of the service. But this is the price we are paying because people wouldn't be responsible for themselves. So maybe just don't be a dipshit. You shouldn't be talking about sensitive personal information over these things anyway, and you shouldn't be being a toxic shit goblin on these things anyway. So if the, let's use the word, threat of having this stuff recorded and used against you is a concern for you, maybe it's time for a little personal responsibility or self-control. Just behave like you would, or hopefully would, in any publicly shared space. The pub, bus stop, walking down the street, the supermarket. Just act with basic respect for other people and with self-goddamn awareness about how you are acting and what you are saying. And don't act like this is some sort of surveillance state type of shit. None of these companies have any interest in spending the kind of money or the kind of resources that would need for constant and complete monitoring of everything going on. There aren't rooms full of people, teams, just randomly tuning into your microphone to hear you prattle on to your mates about the new anime you've been watching lately and making notes of that. This stuff exists for the times users report issues. That's when they actively tune into this sort of stuff. And more than likely these days, some kind of basic automated flagging system on the watch for certain kinds of words and behavior and whatnot, so they can then tune in and say, hey, what's going on here? That was nothing. Moving on. I mean, the other platforms even let users record the last few minutes of chats and whatnot to submit that recording alongside reports of shitty user behavior. So when you complain about someone being just a horrible, toxic bastard in a game, you can send the evidence yourself. That is the kind of thing that these terms are here for. And this kind of stuff is only news to some people because until now, Nintendo have never had such a user-to-user communication system as a core feature of the platform. So this kind of specific language about it didn't need to exist in their privacy policy. But this kind of stuff does already happen on the original Nintendo Switch, because there are specific games on the original Nintendo Switch which do have their own in-game communication run by that publisher or whatever that do also need these terms of service to be specific about this kind of legality. One of the MMOs the Switch one has, DCU Online, has a privacy policy that reads, "We, or our agents, may monitor the communications that you send and receive through the services, including without limitation, technical support and customer service communications. You also acknowledge that any and all character data that is stored and is resident on our service may be monitored by us or our agents to the extent permitted by applicable law." And you will find that kind of thing, again, in literally every single game that has some form of internal user-to-user communication. Text, voice, whatever. So can we please stop overreacting about this? It is so goddamn ordinary. And the fact that so many people are freaking out about it is legitimately concerning for one reason. Because it means there are people out there who truly think that in-game chat is some kind of private and secure communications platform where they can say and do anything they like to and at other people without the chance of any kind of responsibility falling back on them for the things that they do and say to other people. I mean, that would explain a lot about some behaviors I've seen online. But But I don't know, man. Is this really what people think? Are there really so many people out there this dumb about this? Or is it just one more storm in a teacup for people desperately trying to stir up fake controversies for hater bait around the Nintendo Switch 2? It's both. My money's on both. People are desperate to stir up fake controversies for the Switch 2, and a lot of people are very, very dumb. So what do you think about all this? Are you shocked to discover that Nintendo want to be able to keep records of the things people say and do with the communications service that they are legally responsible for operating? Or have you never really thought about this before? Or are you, like me, acutely aware that this is desperately ordinary shit happening? Let me know your thoughts in the comments in the down below. I read every single one of them. And I have done for basically the 2 decades I've been publishing videos here on YouTube. I read them all. Every letter you type, I read, and I always have done. And by the way, YouTube can do too, because, you know, it's a publicly accessible communication space that they run and are legally responsible for. If you appreciated this video, please do hit that like button, and I've been on a tear with this Switch 2 stuff recently, so you might want to tap that subscribe and bell if you haven't done already while you're there, to keep hearing what I am being told by some of you, in pretty much every video about Switch 2 that I post, that it is some of the best, most level-headed, thoughtful, balanced Switch 2 coverage on the damn site. A lot of you, likely, are kind of exhausted about either glazers or hater baits just being out there. I really try to talk about this stuff in a balanced and reasonable way, rather than just going to one extreme or the other to capitalize on the people who just watch that kind of content. Because frankly, if I did do one of the other extremes, I would probably get stronger views on the videos. More extreme opinions do tend to get more extreme view counts, but that's just not who I am. So I would appreciate if you showed me some appreciation for that by doing the things, comments and the bells and the thumb and stuff. Anyway, thanks for that, peeps. Thank you for watching and listening. I am Blunty. I will catch you next time. And thank you, of course, as always, to the wonderful patrons who help support me. Catch you next time.